So, as you guys know, the iPad is one of the key flagship devices that Apple has produced over the years. Today, I really want to put a focus on a product that I actually own that I can talk to you a little bit about, and that is the 2022 iPad Pro M2 edition. Now, I realize that is already sounding a little bit old in 2025. Time flies when you're having fun. But today, I want to talk to you about why I didn't upgrade to the 2024 model, why I think the 2022 model is more than enough for most people, and kind of go through a little bit of a pros and cons list so you can kind of have an understanding of why would I even buy this product or what makes this a little bit better than some of the competition. A quick fact for you, so Apple has actually produced 41 iPad models to date. That is crazy. This is just one of the many, many different models, but specifically one of the bit more recent Pro models that has come out. So I actually had several Pro models in my time. It all started, I got my hands on one of the first Pros, and it was super good. I'm pretty sure my mom is still using that device today, which is a testament to how powerful these devices really are. The one that kind of made me really have a huge appreciation for the iPad, for me, was the 2018 iPad Pro. Now, that one was leaps and bounds ahead of pretty much any competition that was out there. Of course, the M1, M2, M4, etc., all these chips didn't exist back then, but Apple already knew what they were doing when it came to their chipsets. They were already ahead of the game, and they already really understood what people wanted out of a tablet device. And up until last year, before I bought this 2022 edition, it was running pretty much immaculately, to be honest. I was still able to do even some light editing. It was perfectly functional for the everyday use cases like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, like watching YouTube videos. All of those things worked super well. Of course, the accessories, all fantastic. You know, you have your Apple Pencil, you have the Apple Smart Keyboard. All of these things function super great. The only thing that was a problem really with the 2018 model was the battery. It just wouldn't last. It wouldn't last more than about 4 hours really on a full charge. So I know what you're saying to yourself. You're saying, well, why didn't you just replace the battery if it was working great? Well, I wanted to have a new model, but realistically, the 2018 model was revolutionary for its time, super amazing product, really sleek looking device that, to be honest, even in 2025, you wouldn't know the difference. One of the key reasons why I upgraded to the 2022 model was actually the backwards compatibility with the accessories. So I have the keyboard, I also have the Apple Pencil. I didn't want to pay more money basically for the Apple Pencil Pro and the brand new keyboard that comes with the new 2024 M4 edition iPad Pro. So today let's break down how the iPad Pro 2022 edition stacks up in 2025. First off, of course, it's important to know that the iPad Pro comes in two key sizes. This particular model year comes in an 11-inch edition and a 12.9-inch edition. The one that I have actually, which is right here, this one is the 11-inch edition. It's about 466 grams in terms of weight. You get an option of having either a Wi-Fi only model or a Wi-Fi and cellular model in case you're somebody who likes to be productive on the go. At launch, the entry-level price for the iPad Pro at launch was $1,049 Canadian. But when I actually purchased it, it was in 2024. I bought it on sale at Best Buy, and I actually got it for a really reasonable price of $1,107. And that is for the 256 gigabyte version of the 11-inch Wi-Fi edition. So pretty good deal. Let's talk a little bit about the things that I love. First and foremost for me, it's the battery life. Apple does a really good job of balancing the thinness of the device, but also making sure it's stacked with a really good amount of battery. I'll put the number of milliamperes for the battery over here somewhere. Full-time usage in one day for me, it looks like taking notes, recording audio for videos that I'm recording, scrolling through YouTube, scrolling through Instagram, using it for productivity reasons for work like Microsoft Office or Teams. Really solid performance when it comes to the battery. The other reason why I love this is, for me, again, I think I've touched on this already, it's the compatibility with some of the legacy accessories. So for example, the original Apple Pencil works perfectly with this device, and also the Magic Keyboard that they sell for the 2022 edition, and that goes all the way back to 2018. Now, I know that the new iPad Pro 2024 edition has an even better Magic Keyboard, has a bigger trackpad, it has a few other more upgraded tactile buttons, but the reality is I was not going to let go of my $400 keyboard and buy a brand new one. So for me, it was just that backwards compatibility. The other piece was the chip. I wanted something a little bit more modern, something that can handle a little bit more of the new apps and software that's being put out, that has more AI features, that requires a little bit more of a push. So for me, upgrading from the 2018 A12X Bionic chip to the M2 felt, at least on paper, to be a big enough jump that it was worthwhile to do the upgrade. When it comes to the actual chip, if you run the Antutu benchmark, it's about a 3.2 times improvement from the previous generation chip to the current. Again, knowing that a lot of the newer apps and require a lot more processing power, it was nice to see that they upgraded the RAM from 4 gigabytes of RAM up to 8 gigabytes of RAM. The other really nice thing is we actually have recently upgraded to Wi-Fi 6 in our house. This device is actually compatible with Wi-Fi 6, which means that I'm never really going to have any issues with my internet. I can stream live television, of course, so we're really happy with that. So let's break down some of the things that I don't love. I was just hyping up the performance and talking about how really amazing it is on paper. But if I'm being 100% honest with you, most of my time using the iPad is actually spent on things like taking notes, watching YouTube videos, things like checking in on basically Reddit or social media, things of that nature. For most people's use, you don't need a Pro. That's just the hard truth. You do not need a Pro. You feel in your heart of hearts that you want a Pro device. It's just not worth spending all this money on the latest and greatest Pro just to go on YouTube and scroll social media. Where I think it would really shine is if you're doing things like Photoshop, or if you're using DaVinci Resolve and you're actually editing your videos directly on the device. That's really where it shines. Another area where I think that you'll actually feel the difference between the processing power is if you're a heavy AI user. So if you're somebody who uses, for example, Google VO or ChatGPT Sora, and you're doing a lot of content creation, or you're using really large language models, you're probably going to feel a little bit of a lag on the old 2018 model. So definitely a 2022 model will perform a lot better. And of course, the M4 model will do even better. Another thing I noticed about the 2024 edition, it was thinner. If I'm being honest, meh. I really, for an iPad, like especially a Pro iPad, I'm not too bothered with it being a little bit on the thicker side. These are the kinds of considerations that you should be making when you're kind of buying one of these products. What I'm really looking forward to is the new iPad OS that just got announced during WWDC. So it's called iPad OS 26. There's a few bigger changes that have come aesthetically. For example, there's this like iPad OS glass. I'm not too fussed about that. That's not something that's really that attractive to me. It's cool. It looks great. I think it's pretty. It kind of reminds me of like Windows Vista or something, which is not a great call out. But anyway, all that aside, what I'm really, really excited about is all the new multitasking features that they're bringing to the iPad. Guys, I think the iPad is actually starting to really feel like more of a computer now. I said it. I think the iPad is finally going to be more like a computer. I have been dreaming of this day. I have super high expectations. I probably shouldn't, because I'm probably going to be heartbroken, which is a feeling I've been having lately with Apple. For example, one of the things they introduced was just like the way the windows can move around is much more like a MacBook. Also, the file management, it actually looks like a real file management app, similar to the one that you can find on the MacBook. Also, just like the fact that like you can actually minimize or increase the size of a window or just close it like you would on a computer. Guys, I know that sounds crazy. It's not that revolutionary, but it's coming. It's coming to the iPad. Anyway, I'm really excited, as you can see. I honestly think that is going to make this device even more productive for me, even more useful, especially as a Pro device. I think it's about time Apple finally acknowledges that the amount of power that's housed in this thing, in this rectangle, it deserves to have a laptop-like experience. So Fingers crossed that iPad OS 26 brings some really awesome upgrades and we'll never look back again. Let's say it that way. Let's talk verdict. Is it worth buying a kind of outdated device in 2025? If you have saved up and you want the latest and greatest thing, of course you shouldn't buy the 2022 model. It's already old. It's actually already 3 years old. It's 2025 now. M4 iPad Pro is obviously going to be better in every way, for the most part. Big but. If you are someone who is kind of an enthusiast, somebody who is kind of jumping into things like me, for example, starting a YouTube channel, all this kind of stuff, go ahead and look into some of the older devices. You might even be surprised that a 2018 model of the iPad Pro is even more bang for your buck than the one I'm talking about today. Do your research, do a pros and cons list of what it is exactly that you feel you need the device for. And honestly, if you're just doing scrolling on social media websites, or if you're somebody that just uses it for like light gaming, you don't even need a Pro at that point. Go ahead and get yourself an Air. Another piece, if you do on-device editing, whether it's photography, whether it's video editing, I'm gonna say this, go ahead and get the 2024 model. It has an OLED screen. The brilliance of the colors just looks better. You're going to have a slightly better experience. That is not to say that the 2022 model isn't a good experience, but if you're a pro iPad user, the way it's meant to be used, go ahead and get the latest model for that so that you can experience the OLED screen. Another point of reflection for you, I'll leave you with this. If having even better processing power really matters to you, and you're truly a pro user, somebody who is using all of the features possible on the iPad, you're throwing everything at this device, you're really using it as your key computing device, sure, go get the 2024 M4 iPad Pro. Get the latest and greatest. You won't regret it. You're obviously a pro user. I think there's about 1 or 2% of the entire iPad owner population that actually falls within that niche. If you are not in that 1 to 2%, you'll be fine with the 2022 iPad Pro. It's fast, the processor works, it handles all kinds of multitasking, and you will not be disappointed. And it will last you for several years to come. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you learned a thing or two about the slightly dated iPad Pro 2022 model. Excited to be back, excited to be talking tech with you again as a mama. Stay tuned for some more content. As soon as I can get it up, I will get it up. Thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't had a chance, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.